Tune in to the Real Estate Roundup with the River Counties Association of Realtors. Join us every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. on the Mix 104.1 as we explore the latest in real estate. Whether you're buying, selling, or just love real estate, don't miss our expert advice and exclusive insights. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's explore the dynamic world of real estate in our vibrant River Counties community. Catch Real Estate Roundup and make your property dreams a reality.
Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Roundup. I am Lisa Calfee with the Source Real Estate Group, and today I am joined by Don Harris, the landman. We're going to talk about auctions. Don, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been doing auctions.
Well, I'm Don Harris. I'm local, been around here for years. I got in the real estate business about 1978 or 9, and the auction business in 87.
Okay.
And I worked for a number of years for another auctioneer before I opened my own company in 2000. My wife and I opened up Don Harris Auction Solutions.
Okay, so for the past 26 years now, you've been running your own land auction business.
That's correct.
That's awesome, awesome. Yeah. Tell people that are listening where they can reach you at.
Well, my cell phone's the best way.
Okay.
423-310-9788.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So today we're going to educate our listeners a little bit about what land auctions, well, auctions in general are. It's not just land. So to kind of tell people when they see those signs that say auction, they know exactly what it is, and they know we're not always just, selling little things, but we are selling real estate with auctions, and there can be some advantages to people by using an auctioneer. So for someone new to the idea, how does an auction actually work?
Well, Lisa, primarily what I do is sell land at auction. Now, I've also sold houses and commercial businesses. And so it depends on what you're selling, how you set up the sale.
Sure.
Okay? For example, the reason I got in the auction business, I was selling real estate for like 10 years. And to sell a house or a vacant lot was one thing. You just put a sign, put it in a multiple listing. But when you came to selling larger tracts of ground like farms, the golden rule is if you want to multiply your dollars, you divide your land.
Right.
Because in it's simple logic, there's more people can buy a 5-acre tract than they can a 100-acre tract. Well, the kickback that we were getting through listings was, well, what if somebody buys right in the middle of my farm and then I get stuck with the rest of it? Or what if it takes a year? And it could.
It could,
and
yes.
During that time of your listing where you're trying to sell a tract at a time, you still got to keep that property looking like new money. You got to keep it bush hogged and everything. So there's continuous maintenance. And those were the problems that I was seeing. And one day, I don't know why, but I went to a real estate auction. And they had a farm and had it cut in 5-acre tracts. And about 30 minutes after the auctioneer said go, they had everything sold. Everything sold and heading toward closing in like 30 days. And I said, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. That solves the problem. Because what the auctioneer did, he cut it in 5-acre tracts and he offered it by the dollar. He said, folks, you're bidding on the price that you're willing to pay for 1 acre of land. And if you're the high bidder, you can choose any tract that we have, and you're paying whatever your bid price times the number of acres that you choose. You got to take one tract, but you can choose as many as you like. And then once we have a bid established on all the tracts, we're going to total up what we have and ask, does anybody want to buy it all? And if you do, you've got to give us not $1 more, but you've got to give us, a few $1,000s more than what's previously bid.
Sure.
So by doing this, we engage the numerous amount of people. We had the guy wanting to buy the small tracts and the guys wanting to buy the big tracts. And with every bid, it builds the price because the bottom line is the auctioneer is representing the seller. And I thought, this solves problems. And I told the auctioneer that day, I said, I'm going to learn to do this. And he said, well, son, there's a whole lot more to it than talking fast.
Right.
And that's another thing about real estate auctions. A lot of people have gone to antique sales or cattle sales, and it's rolling on, and you're wondering, what in the world is he saying?
Right, yes.
Real estate auction's completely different. If you don't know what I'm asking for, you're not going to bid.
That's right.
So I've got to go slow. I go at the speed that the buyers. If you're bidding fast, I'll go fast. If you slow down, I'm going to slow down. And before I say sold, I'm going to make sure everybody has had a chance to bid. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you and I have done some work together. I just recently got my auctioneer's license because I was very interested in it. And during the class, basically they kept teaching us how to bid, how to take bids, and how to do it fast. And I kept thinking, I'll never be able to do this fast. And then just like you said, when it comes to property auctions, you've got to make sure that the buyers understand what you're saying, because they need to know what the next bid is and what they're actually bidding. So it's not that fast, talking like we do here at some smaller type auctions.
That's correct. That's
Good
correct.
deal. So why would a seller choose an auction over a traditional listing? And you kind of just answered that in a way, but I noticed, when I'm traditionally listing a piece of land, and our days on the market are typical to be, maybe even over 100 in some cases, because that land might not fit everybody's needs. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that when I do have a larger tract of land, a lot of times the calls that I get for it are, will you subdivide it? Will you sell a smaller tract? Mm-hmm. And so, a seller would want an auction rather than a traditional listing for what are the additional reasons that you would see that the seller could benefit really well from that?
The whole key behind an auction is competition. Competition. So that's the reason you cut the property up. And sometimes you look and say, well, one guy bought it all. I paid this money for the survey. The survey was well worth it. It's what got you from point A to point wherever you ended.
That's right.
So some of the reasons I like auctions, the question everybody asks is, well, what's it going to bring? What's land worth? Well, I'll just tell you the truth. If you're an appraiser and you go into a subdivision of like kind, like age houses, you can come out with an accurate appraisal. But what are you going to do if you're an appraiser and the guy's got a house and 10 acres, or you got a 100-acre farm? Where are you going to find comps? Because there's so many variables.
That's right.
So anybody that tells you they know what something's going to bring, they're just kidding themselves. My common answer is, the Lord knows. He knows who's going to buy it. He knows what they're going to pay. And I'll find out the same time you do.
That's right.
But that said, we can all guess and have opinions, but the reason I like an auction is because if it's advertised and people show up waving checkbooks at you, that's a really good indication of what that property is worth that day.
Absolutely. And you don't have looky-loos come into an auction.
No.
Most of the time. You've got people that are there, like you say, with their checkbook ready to buy. Whereas, if somebody's just thinking about building and they want to go look at a piece of land, they may be months away from pulling the trigger, but they got to be ready to pull the trigger when they're attending an auction.
An auction is today is the day event. That's correct.
So let's talk about what you talked a little bit about, what type of land sells best at an auction. So if I have a house in a neighborhood, I'm probably not going to get a higher benefit from auctioning that off. Whereas if I have a house on 10 acres, potentially, then and it's like you say, it's not something that's a normal find. It's a little bit of a unique or rare piece. What do you feel like sells the best at auctions?
Well, my primary focus is rural land. I've sold houses and I've sold business commercial properties. Typically, it's like this: the multiple listing system is set up for housing,
Right.
and the whole idea is you can slow walk a buyer and get his financing and check everything out, and it works. I have nothing against listing properties. Both auctions and listings work just fine. But at an auction, just say for example, you've got a house that needs a lot of work. What we do, the first thing we do is title search on any property that we're going to sell. And then if we have any surveying, we do the surveying. But on a house, we'll do a termite letter and a house inspection. And we have open houses, and we'll tell you everything we know that's wrong. And you can come and inspect it yourself and bring your own inspector. And at the same time, we'll tell you we're going to sell it to you as just exactly as it is, with all of its good and all of its bad.
Right.
Okay. We don't have to wait on appraisals. We're not selling it subject to financing. And we're, like I say, we're selling it as is condition. Now that's one type house. I've sold, I've sold houses for over $1 million down in Chattanooga on the Missionary Ridge, and things like that.
Sure.
But typically, an auction, what I've found best are houses that maybe need a little work or rural land, and my main focus is on rural land.
So if I'm a buyer coming to an auction, what do I need to know coming in?
Okay, what we do on an auction, like I said, we have got to give you a certain amount of information so you're comfortable enough to bid. Okay? Title searches, surveys, soil tests, things of that nature, to where your questions are answered to a point. As a buyer, you need to be pre-qualified. You need to talk to your friendly banker and make sure he's on board with you. Because typically what we'll do, we'll say if you're a winner, we want $10,000, for example, non-refundable down payment. That's not earnest money, that's down payment. You don't get it back. And we like to close in 30 or 40 days, whatever the terms and conditions are. And in order to get a bidder's number and bid, you have to agree to to our terms and conditions of the sale. And so therefore, the biggest thing buyers need to do is make sure they've got their financing together and make sure that they look at the property before they buy it.
Right.
Yes. I'm not kidding you. You won't. We were selling lake lots one day, and the high bidder, first man up, he gets the bid and he turns to me and he said, "I just got here." He said, "Which one do you like best?"
Oh my goodness.
I picked one. I said, "Well, I like track so and so," and he later he came by and said, "I like it," and I thought, well, I'm glad he did, but
that's a lot of trust.
well, but anyway, do your homework. If you're a buyer, do your homework ahead of time with your financing and your inspections, and know what you're getting into.
So if I'm interested in attending an auction and I'm a buyer, typically there's going to be time before the auction where I can go out there and walk that land and take a look at it, right?
Yeah, what we do, we'll typically advertise for 3 weeks. We don't want it to be old news, but we want to give you time to, have a couple weekends to get out there and walk it over. Call us, call whoever you need to call to go with you and look at it and kind of get your ducks in a row, so to speak. Yes.
So if I am the winning bidder, do I have any contingencies available to me? Do I get any further inspection period or an appraisal contingency?
No.
Okay.
This is not like what you're accustomed to doing
right,
with the
exactly.
MLS. This is we're selling it to you in as-is condition. Usually what I do, I'll post the survey, the soil results, and the title search on our bulletin board, and I put it on our website. to where people can review it ahead of time. Okay, so that's the key to it right there. Instead of a lot of people think auctions are set up for distressed properties.
Right, that is a misconception.
I thought that too. And you can make you can make an auction a distressed sale if you just say, here it is, we got a pig in the poke, so to speak, and you're just buying whatever you're buying.
Right.
If you want to do it right, you got to provide information the best you can ahead of time to your buyers. You got to anticipate their questions and have them ready.
Absolutely.
Ahead of time to where they can review it. Because on the day of the sale, honestly, it takes about 10, 15 minutes sometimes to go over the terms and conditions, the kind of the ground rules, and about that long to sell it. And it's over.
It's very quick. And that the first time, like you going back to talking about not being able to just specifically say, I think it's going to sell for this. One of the first land auctions that I went to, my husband is very familiar with the price of land. He's a farmer, so he sees it through the eyes of its highest and best use. And so when we try to price property, that's really what we're looking at. What's its highest and best use? How is someone going to be able to either live on this, farm this, or what can they do with it? Location, all of those things. Is the soil good? All those different things. And so when we went to this one, we both said, what do you think it's going to go for? What do you think it's going to go for? And we were comparing, and it went for way more than either one of us estimated. And so I think you can take your best knowledge of land prices and it can be completely thrown out the window once that competition of the actual bidding starts. It depends on how bad someone wants that, and then it can go for way more than you ever anticipated.
I've been fooled many times. We had an auction up in Polk County, and two elderly ladies owned the property, and normally we have a minimum. We have a price in mind that a bottom line. We got our foot on the brake. Mm-hmm. In other words, we're hoping for more, and that's one of the questions. If you're going to do an auction, that's one of the things I want to know. Are you really a client for auction, or should you list it? Because the auction requires a budget. Whether I got to pay the newspaper, I got to pay the surveyor and the cleanup guy, regardless if we have a good day or not. So I want to know are you really an auction client? Can you handle the stress? And whisper to me, what is the bottom line? Because I'm going to shout it if I need to. Okay, I need to know where I stand. Well, anyway, on this particular sale, we had $800,000 was the bottom line. The day of the sale came, and it was raining dogs and cats, and turned into a muddy mess. And the tent was packed. There must have been 200 people, and the tent was leaking.
Oh God!
And the wind was blowing.
Everybody's going to bid so they could get out of there.
And my helpers their chairs were sinking in the mud. I mean, it was horrible. But the bids were good, and when it was all said and done, we were right at $1.2 million. It brought about $400,000 more, and the two ladies were standing out there with the umbrellas, and they said, "What is going on?" I said, "Well, we passed what you got to have. We're way past that."
Which is a happy seller.
Yeah, but that just goes to show we don't know what anything will bring.
Tell our listeners what the difference is between when we see these signs that say auction and then we see the signs that say absolute auction.
Okay.
What is the difference there?
The difference is absolute means that I'm going to sell it regardless of what it brings. Okay? Now, I don't do many absolute auctions. Most auctions are reserve. Reason is I sleep better and my client, the seller, sleeps better if we know that we've got our foot on the brake. If it doesn't bring X number of dollars, we're not going to sell it. Okay? Now so what the seller is really risking is his advertising budget. It costs so many dollars to go find out, But on the other hand, we try not to have a sale where you just absolutely have a no sale. You try to, make sure that you're on the same page, and it's surely to goodness. But if you do this long enough, you'll be fooled a time or two. I've sold land that I thought would bring 15 that brought 10, and I've sold land that I thought would bring 15 brought 25.
That's right. It can
So
go either way.
It can go either way. But with a reserve auction, you don't have to sell it if it doesn't bring your minimum. You don't have to sell it. The only thing you're risking is your advertising budget. I don't get paid. But normally that doesn't happen. What could happen? Like if you've got 30 or 40 tracts of ground, you may have 20 buyers that buy worth the money, and then you may run out of buyers, and it might be that you run out, so the price drops because nobody's really that interested. What we do, we sell the ones that are, that brought the good money, and we just thank everybody for their bids on the others and say, hey, they're for sale and this is what we'll take. And we just convert from an auction to a listing right there on the spot.
Okay.
And that way, our whole goal is to protect the seller.
So do you have any advice for buyers other than make sure you have your financing ready, make sure
And
you've
do your
looked
homework,
at everything,
check
so
it.
they can register before or day of the sale?
Usually what we do is we'll set up an hour or so ahead of time and just come day of the sale and register. And if you're working with a realtor, bring your realtor. They can register with you, and we'll pay them a referral. We want everybody to come and play.
That's right.
But I tell you, the thing I really like about auctions, they generate, besides solving problems, they generate excitement. I mean, tell you, if you get a really good auction going and people are bidding, it is fun.
They really do, and it's amazing how quick they are.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, you get there and the auction may start at 11 and you're over at 11:30.
Yeah.
You're done with taking the bids and people committing, and so it's an interesting process the day of.
It is. It's an interesting process.
So is there any advice you would give to a seller who is a landowner who's thinking about
Yes.
selling?
Start in advance. Here's the thing. We do a title search. That doesn't take long, 10 days. Surveyors, you got to wait normally about a month. The biggest holdup is the health department and the perk test. So what I tell folks is, if you're thinking of selling this year, let's get started now on our preparations, because other people don't work at our speed.
They don't, and land is that way whether you are auctioning it or selling it. I do a fair amount of land just with the MLS, and it is not just one of those things where I can go out and stick a sign on it, because the worst part about looking at land, one thing I love about your processes with an auction is you already have that survey done, so they've already marked it, so you can clearly see the property lines. It's so hard to show property and have clients that are interested, and everybody's guessing about where the property lines may or may not be. And so it's really nice to be able to go out to a piece of land that's already been marked and staked off and be able to clearly see where all the property lines are, and then start thinking, okay, well, where could I put a home if I'm going to build, or if I'm going to farm this, what do I have to work with, all those things. And so that, like you said, that prep time with just getting your surveyor lined up and getting your perk test done, your soil mapping, all of those things, it does take time. And that's why working with someone local has so many advantages.
The other thing is that prep comes back to value. It's worth what you can do with it.
That's right. Yes.
I had a 250-acre farm. We only found 3 places that you could put a house. The soil was that
You
bad.
never know.
Okay? So what's it worth? It's all related to what you can do with it, what utilities are available, and who shows up.
That's right. That's right.
Who's got the brighter plan?
Is there so when you're working with someone like you that's local to the area, you're going to have the connections with the surveyors and the people locally so that you can get a little bit, because of that loyalty they have to you from working with you for years, they can get the job done quicker
Yeah.
for you because you are local. Because there are national auction companies that sometimes will come to the area and put things on, but they're not going to have as much access to everything that you do.
Yeah, it's just like building a house. You can build one yourself, but to get subs to come, it's kind of a hard deal. But if you're a full-time contractor, they come quicker for you.
They do. That's exactly right.
And that's what it amounts to in this. But still, they work at their speed, and you have to wait your turn.
That's right. You do. You do. And so one of the things to recap for buyers that I think is a misconception is they think that auctions are potentially just a foreclosure property, which is not the case. Any landowner can opt to have a auction as opposed to a traditional sale.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it now there is going to be that prep time, but the actual selling time is going to be way shorter because we're selling it on that day. If we meet whatever the reserve is, we're selling it that day. We're not having to wait, for that right person to come along, because typically when you're having an auction and you've advertised it well, you're going to have all those interested parties. They're going to show up that day all at one time.
That's correct.
And your buyers out there that have maybe thought, oh, I can't do an auction because I have to only pay with cash. We've crushed that misconception.
Well, I tell you what, we sell. Our terms and conditions normally we're selling a cash sale, okay? But most people borrow money,
Right.
and we tell them go see Rule 1 Farm Credit, and go see River Valley, or go see whoever you want
Which
to.
are great land lenders.
But those two are really good on land, and they'll make construction loans as well. You probably need about 15% down payment if you can qualify, and so a lot of people borrow money, and that's fine. We don't stop you from borrowing money. That's the reason we give you 30, 40 days but we ask you to please be pre-qualified ahead of time.
And that's going to be the same message that you're going to get from whether it's an auction or a traditional buy. We want you to know you have the ability to buy before you fall in love with something and decide you want to buy it. And to register as a buyer, they're presenting to you that, yes, I do have the ability to buy this.
We take their word. We don't require them to give us a letter, but that's what we tell folks. Pre-qualify. Make sure you're ready.
Absolutely.
Because at a certain time, at a certain day, we're going to pull the trigger.
That's right. And then it's all go there. So I am Lisa Calfee with the Source Real Estate Group. You can reach me at 423-802-0875. Thank you for joining us, Don. It's been great learning about auctions today.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Lisa.
Do you imagine a career with flexibility and limitless income potential? It's possible by becoming a Realtor. The River Counties Association of Realtors, located right here in Cleveland, Tennessee, is ready to help you unlock your potential. We're your go-to resource for guiding you to obtain your Tennessee real estate license. We're more than just realtors. We're a vital part of our community. Partnering with local charities, we work tirelessly to make a difference. Join the River Counties Association of Realtors today, where your career can thrive and community can too. Visit rivercounties.com or call 423-476-5912. Your new path awaits.